world champion, a current world champion, a future world champion. But they deserve a Canelo fight, but Lomachenko doesn't deserve a Devin Haney fight. Explain that to me. I don't know. Oh, I think John's here. Let's see.
Yeah. Turn it down a little bit.
Dun, dun, dun. Johnboxing is here.
Yes, I am.
What's up?
Just here to debate you, man.
Debate me on what? What are we debating now?
Just your thoughts about, I guess, black boxing fans. You always seem to have an issue with black boxing fans. So I'm here.
No,
I had to come home and get here and get this work.
So it's not.
Wait, hold on. Wait, hold on. Turn that tablet down a little bit. Turn it down a little bit. That's good. All right, go ahead.
It's not against black boxing fans. It's against narrative pushing black boxing fans. Plenty of black boxing fans I praise all the time on my channel because they don't let race be the predominant dictatorship of what they do. Like, example, yesterday you made a video talking about how Lomachenko didn't deserve a Devin Haney fight, even though he was Devin Haney's WBC and WBO mandatory opponent. But he didn't deserve the fight. And this is shown by the fact that, well, Andrade and Charlo didn't get a Canelo Alvarez fight. So based on the fact that they didn't get a fight, then Lomachenko doesn't deserve a fight. Well, that doesn't make sense at all. You're basically shooting yourself in the foot with that argument. Because in truth, Lomachenko's last three opponents are better than any of the opponents that those two fighters have faced since they moved to middleweight division. So you're just justifying the fact that they don't deserve the fights either if Lomachenko doesn't deserve them. Because the reality is, Comey was an IBF world champion. Charlo and Andrade have never faced an ex, a current, or a former world champion since they moved to the middleweight division. So why do they deserve a Canelo Alvarez fight, but Lomachenko doesn't deserve a Devin Haney fight?
You see, the problem with that is that when it comes to certain fighters, like I've been saying in my video, you guys put so much pressure on them to where you make them go through, loops of fighters, right? We're talking about Jamal Charlo. We're talking about Demetrius Andrade. These two guys, they have been in position to fight Canelo Alvarez since the junior middleweight division. Now, the video I made about Lomachenko yesterday, I'm not saying that he don't deserve to fight Devin Haney. I'm going based on the narrative. Okay, but I'm going based on the narrative that you guys push, right? You guys, right? You said to yourself that Charlo, Andrade, David Benavidez don't deserve to fight Canelo. They need to fight each other, right? Okay. So my thing is, if we're going to have that energy for those boys and to keep it across the board, right? You're not going to sit here and tell me that those three fighters that Lomachenko fought are good enough to where that puts Lomachenko in position to fight the undisputed champion. Meanwhile, you have these three other fighters that's been there. They've never lost. They've never lost their position. All right. But they don't deserve to fight Canelo. They need to fight each other. Now, I'm good with this fight with Devin and Lomachenko. I'm going based on the narrative that you guys push.
You guys. Well, yes. See, Tom, that's part of your problem, is that you think that every white person speaks for every white person and that you speak for every black person. Well, I don't speak for every white person. I only speak for myself. So what other people say has nothing to do with me. And your opinion is your opinion. It doesn't represent all of black American boxing fans. But so let's go with what you're saying right now.
Yes.
The reality is it's true what you said. That Andrade and Charlo have been chasing Canelo Alvarez 154 pounds. But during that whole period of time, Canelo Alvarez was actually... Okay, you got kids. Gotta pay attention to them.
I'm my bad, bro. Yeah, my bad.
No, it's fine. You got kids. I understand. So since that period of time, those two guys haven't come under heavy fire. Canelo Alvarez has come under heavy fire, consistently ridiculed and criticized and ripped apart, even though he's went up 3 weight divisions, became undisputed, faced undefeated world champions after undefeated champions, yet these guys have done nothing. The last 7 fights these guys have had have been mediocre opponents, not one of whom was an ex-world champion, a current world champion, or a future world champion. The best opponent any of those guys have fought was Derevchenko, a guy that had already lost multiple times, once to Jacobs and once to Golovkin, right? Yet Canelo Alvarez is the one who's heavily criticized and ridiculed. Yet these guys haven't faced each other at 154. They could have unified titles against one another at 154. They didn't. They both moved up. And then they could have faced each other at 160. They didn't. And now, apparently, they're in line for a fight, which is great. But the problem with it is now they're both fucking, it's kind of like, sorry for swearing, you got kids in the background. It's kind of like when you talk about Plant and Benavidez. That was a great fight when it was for unification. It was still a good fight when it just happened recently. The only problem is Plant had already been knocked out by Canelo Alvarez. So what kind of great victory was it for Benavidez? He just beat a guy that Canelo already knocked out. And now Andrade and Charlo are meeting. Yet neither have a title at 168. Andrade, who just moved up, would have to move down to 160. But yet they get a pass, but Canelo gets scrutinized consistently, ridiculed. Nothing he can do is okay and good enough. Yet these guys, oh my God, they're victims.
Right, but okay, Canelo Alvarez is considered the number one fighter, is he not? Usually, wait a minute. Usually, that's what comes with that. People want to see the number one fighter fight all comers. Okay, I remember some years ago you said Floyd Mayweather ducked Keith Thurman, right?
He did. He could have unified against him.
Okay, prior to that, who did Keith Thurman fight to earn a shot against Floyd Mayweather? Floyd Mayweather was in a position to where he can do it, right? But wait. I'm not talking about after the fact. I'm talking about before he started fighting the Porters, before he started fighting the Garcias. Floyd Mayweather was already retired, right? But his best win was who brother he knocked out. It was somebody's brother, a trainer's brother that Keith Thurman knocked out with a body shot. Something Diaz. I think Jojo. What's the trainer's name? Timothy Bradley's old trainer, his brother, I think. That was Keith Thurman's best win. And you guys said Floyd Mayweather ducked that guy. Fine. Well, you did. You said Floyd Mayweather ducked Keith Thurman. Okay. Well, if Keith Thurman deserved a shot against Floyd Mayweather, then why shouldn't a guy like Jamal Charlo and Demetrius Andrade not get their shot against Canelo Alvarez when they've done better than that version of Keith Thurman?
But they didn't do better. But
they're champions.
Well,
they're champions.
Yes.
Keith Thurman was a champion.
I think when Keith Thurman was calling out Floyd Mayweather this time, it was for unification, and it was for undisputed. But you missed.
I'm talking about 2014.
Well, no, you're talking. But I think when I talked about it, it was just after he beat Manny Pacquiao prior to fighting Berto, who literally had lost 3 of his last 6 fights. And yet it was okay for him to fight a guy who was 50% in his last 6 fights, as opposed to fighting a world champion in Keith Thurman. And you missed the whole point. When this conversation happened, it was because Keith Thurman was criticized because he didn't want to fight Errol Spence. And Floyd Mayweather put Errol Spence in the way of fighting him. So you need to fight Errol Spence before you get a fight with me, right? But yet Berto, a guy who literally lost 3 of his last 6 fights, he was okay to get that fight. A guy who lost 3 of his last 6 fights. Right?
And who was Keith Thurman at that time?
Just let me finish for a second, then you can follow. And the point was, I don't mind if Floyd didn't fight Keith Thurman, but it was just the point that Floyd Mayweather fans and Errol Spence fans were ridiculing and disregarding and criticizing Keith Thurman for ducking Spence. Yet that's the same thing Floyd was doing to Keith Thurman. And now it's the same thing Spence is doing with Boots Ennis. The cycle is consistently went around and around, but the only guy who gets criticized is Keith Thurman. Go.
Okay. We're talking about 2 different times. I'm talking about Keith Thurman before he started fighting Shawn Porters and the Garcias. By that time, Floyd was already long retired. When Floyd fought Andre Berto, Keith Thurman was still fighting Robert the Ghost Guerrero. Okay, so he hadn't done anything at that time. So that guy that was unproven deserved a shot against Floyd Mayweather because he was a mandatory, right? That's what you guys are saying. But my thing is, and I didn't mind that fight, but my thing is, if he deserved a shot against Floyd Mayweather without doing absolutely nothing, then why shouldn't fighters like Jamal and Andrade not get their shot against Canelo? Jamal Charlo knocked out J. Rock Williams. That was a fight where he wasn't the favorite to win. He also beat Kaynar Brundage. He beat Austin Trout. So he had some decent wins at 154. All right. Moving up, he fought, who was it? Derevyanchenko. So he fought some good fighters at 160. But still, he didn't get his shot for whatever reason. But you guys keep saying that they don't deserve. Me, I just want to see the best fight the best. I don't put up roadblocks. I don't put up barriers. I want to see the best fight the best. And it's kind of funny to me because when it comes to my favorite top fighters that I like, I want to see them fight the best fighters. You ain't gonna ever hear me say, "Oh, they don't deserve," or "He don't deserve." Right? I didn't say Ryan Garcia didn't deserve to fight Tank. My thing is, you guys said this that you guys said that this is what Tank's, I guess, will be Tank's notable win. And my thing is, well, who was Ryan? Who did Ryan fight to get to put himself in position to be where, oh, if Tank beat him, Tank will be this, and that.
But now you're twisting the narrative. The reality is, I never said those guys didn't deserve a fight with Canelo Alvarez. The reality is, everybody wants to fight Canelo Alvarez because he's the cash cow. It's the same way everybody wanted to fight Floyd. Floyd can't literally fight every single person. Canelo literally can't fight every single person. And you also miss and ignore the whole wrong side of the street story with this scenario. Obviously, with Andrade, there's a different thing that you lie about. But with Charlo, the reason he didn't get the fight is because he was on the wrong side of the street. Just like Bud Crawford was on the wrong side of the street and couldn't get a PBC fight. Right? That's why he didn't get the fight. Because he wasn't willing to cross over to make the fight. And Canelo wasn't going to cross over to fight him. So he was happy to sit back, let Canelo do his business, him do his stuff, knowing that he was eventually going to get an interim title or whatever title he ended up getting. With regards to Andrade, and you always ignore the truth to this story, after Canelo beat Golovkin, he was going to fight Andrade for undisputed. But the IBF petitioned him to fight his mandatory, Derevyanchenko. They went to negotiation. Derevyanchenko wouldn't negotiate, turned down the offers they offered him, which were more money than he made to fight Golovkin later on. And hence the IBF stripped Canelo Alvarez, meaning that he was no longer able to fight for undisputed because he just lost one of the titles. So the Andrade in-house DAZN fight fell off because of internal politics that had nothing to do with Canelo Alvarez. So he jumped up 2 weight divisions and faced Kovalev, right? But yet you lie about that. You act like he ducked Andrade, but that's not the truth. The truth is that was the fight that they were moving towards, but the IBF got in the way of that. The same IBF now who has not mandated Spence or Charlo to fight their IBF mandatory for 4 or 5 years, right? There's a lot of inconsistencies that people choose to pick and choose to ignore depending on the fighter they want to ridicule and criticize, right? I'm not criticizing Spence for not fighting Boots Ennis, but I'm criticizing the IBF because the IBF is the ones that are in charge and they use different criteria depending on the fighters, maybe depending on how much promotional people pay them to step aside. But regardless, you want to criticize certain fighters and then you ignore the narrative when it reflects on other fighters. You basically have shit on Boots Ennis and didn't call out Errol Spence to actually fight him. You actually said
to fight Crawford. That's why.
Yeah, of course. But how long do we need to wait for that?
As long as they're trying to get it done, I'll wait as long as possible. I don't want nothing getting in the way between those two. I want Crawford and Spence. The winner of that can get Jerome Ennis. That's what I want.
Everybody wants
that. If Jerome Ennis wants to prove to the world that he's ready, prove that he can, face one, he needs to be fighting Virgil Ortiz or the winner between Virgil Ortiz and Santonis. Let Crawford and Spence do their thing.
But see, now what you're doing is you're getting in the way of boxing moving forward. If fighters are not able to fight because of whatever reason, how long are you going to allow this kind of thing to happen and allow other fighters, mandatory fighters, to not get an opportunity? You are one of the people who criticized Lomachenko for not fighting Haney. Yet Lomachenko fought for unification against Lopez instead of fighting as mandatory, which is what he should have done. He should have fought unification. He shouldn't have wasted his time on Devin Haney at that point, right? It wasn't he was ducking Devin Haney as mandatory. He was choosing to go for something great, unification, which is obviously much bigger than fighting a mandatory. And now that's what you want Spence and Crawford to do. And you want the mandatory to step aside for no matter how long it takes, just not to get in the way of unification. But when it was Lopez and Lomachenko, your energy is completely different. Why?
I wasn't trying to cut you off, but anyways, with Lomachenko, okay, the difference between Lomachenko and Spence, Lomachenko gave up his belt to not fight Devin Haney. All right, Spence still, last time I checked, is the champion, right?
So he said,
I mean, the franchise belt. I mean, what is it called? That destination belt. That's not even a real belt. All right, that's the reason why Devin is the champion, because Lomachenko gave it up. I wouldn't mind Lomachenko fighting Teofimo Lopez and then turn around fighting Devin Haney. I would have loved that, but he had no intentions on fighting Devin Haney, and that was my problem.
How do you know he has no intentions?
Because he gave up the WBC belt. That's why
he didn't give up the belt.
He's no longer the WBC title holder. Elevated to what? Franchise?
Higher distinction. Well, you're ignoring what Suleiman, the president of the WBC, specifically said on doing this. He specifically said that the winner between Lopez and Lomachenko was the undisputed champion because the franchise title was the higher level of titles, kind of like the WBA that has a super title and a regular title. And nobody likes those distinctions. We all think it's bullshit and money-grabbing politics from fucking sanctioning bodies. But to criticize Lomachenko because of politics within the sanctioning body, right, that's the problem. Like, Lomachenko still did what he should have done, fought for unification. This whole franchise stuff, that had nothing to do with him. That's politics and these dudes wanting to get paid. Why shit on him for doing what he should do? He wanted unification. He wanted undisputed. Obviously, that was always what he was geared towards. He's not focused on all this other bullshit. That's his team and fucking the sanctioning bodies and these people doing that stuff.
Thank you.
Spence just said, strip me, take my titles, right? Mm-hmm. Yet imagine if Lomachenko said that. You would have made 12 videos.
Look, okay, I know where you stand with Lomachenko. I know exactly where you stand with Lomachenko. Listen, my thing is, I think everybody would have appreciated if he didn't give up that belt. We call Devin Haney the email champion, right? I would like to see Devin fight for that belt. Devin was the WBC champion because of Lomachenko's actions. And we talk about that franchise belt. Is it even relevant right now? No one is even talking about it. So how can it be a higher status? Huh?
Estrada has it.
I mean, is anybody even acknowledging it? No. No one's even talking about it anymore. So that whole higher status to me, I mean, that just seems irrelevant. Because I think it was just a destination for Lomachenko and Canelo to get out of their ways from fighting their mandatories. And it's kind of weird because Jamal Charlo was Canelo's mandatory. He got elevated to franchise status to not fight Jamal. Devin Haney was Lomachenko's mandatory. He got elevated to franchise status to not fight Devin. I mean, does that not bother you? I mean, they're getting out of the ways from fighting tough mandatories. Meanwhile, you're holding Errol Spence to that same. You're holding Errol Spence to a different standard. If he was to get elevated to the WBC's franchise status, would you criticize him if he were to do that, to not fight Jaron Ennis?
No, because I would say the same thing now. See, the problem is you are holding him to a different standard, not me. I know that unification is more than mandatory, and I'm holding that consistent across the board. I want Spence to fight Bud Crawford. That's the fight that means everything. That's the fight that should happen. Lomachenko fighting Lopez was the fight that should happen. Devin Haney is secondary. Boots Ennis is secondary. Charlo was secondary. Canelo Alvarez was trying to make undisputed, but because of the IBF and the inner politics. See, I'm not saying some people don't twist and manipulate this stuff for whatever reasons they do, but what you fail to talk about is that this has more to do with the sanctioning body's greed and promoters' relationship to these people, right? That some people get stripped of titles where other guys don't even fucking have issues with promotional teams, with sanctioning bodies. That's the only thing I'm pointing out. Why is a guy like Canelo stripped, but yet Errol Spence isn't? It's not even mandated, right? People act as if Lomachenko ducked Haney, yet people are okay with obviously Boots Ennis taking second to side money. And think about Stanionis. Stanionis literally was Ugis's mandatory. They forced Ugis to fight Stanionis and get in the way of a unification fight, right? But because they negotiated, worked it out, paid some money here from Al Heyman, the PBC, to the sanctioning bodies, they said, okay, Ugis and Spence can fight for undisputed. Everyone knows that's more significant, so it happened. Good. But that means the winner then should have to fight Stanionis, the mandatory. Yet Stanionis is still sitting on the side, not getting an opportunity. Yes, we want Spence to fight Bud Crawford, but Stanionis could have been a fight in the meantime. I mean, Crawford just fought his mandatory. Spence easily could have fought Stanionis, and then we could easily get that fight for fucking July or August. And everything would move forward in a natural sort of way. But it's the corruption inside the sport that holds some people under high scrutiny and some people not. You want to make it out as if it's all black boxers who are not given the opportunities. But I just gave you examples where it's not true. And obviously you can't say this as a generalization because every example is different. Just look at Josh Taylor. Literally, he was forced to give up all his titles. And now people say Regis Prograis is the best fighter at 140.
I never said that.
I said people.
Oh.
I'm not, unlike you, I don't hold you accountable for what every person says on YouTube.
You do, because you call me a PBC fanboy and you group all of us in together and you generalize us based off of what one or two persons are saying about the sport. And that's why I joined this live to talk to you about, because to me it's very offensive when you have a person generalizing people based off of a handful of people in the community. You know, like me,
I like do it all the time. You've already done it several times on this live.
I did what?
You've done it several times on this live already.
But I was talking specifically to you when I said you've done it.
No, you weren't. You held me accountable for what other people said. This is the same thing you did on Ring IQ's video as well when you had a debate with him, and you held him accountable for things that he didn't say.
Okay, my point is that now I'm here talking to you directly. You know, the issue that you have with us, and I say us as, you know, of course, black boxing fans, why isn't this something directed towards the community as a whole? You seem to only want to pinpoint what we are only saying. You know, whatever you don't find, you know, I guess intriguing or what you don't like, you attack us for it. But then the next man that's not black can be saying the exact same thing. You are nowhere to be found to criticize that man. You see, when it comes to this community, I kind of want to stay away from that. And I think I've been doing that. Like, unless I'm called out directly. IBFP, he called me out directly. I haven't made any diss videos to Johnny Boy, and Johnny Boy shits on black fighters all the time. But I respond when people call me out directly. So I kind of stay away from that whole back and forth beef crap. But when I'm called out directly, then I respond. But see, you on the other hand, you just have this I don't know, sustained hatred for black content creators. And it shows. And that's why, like I said, I'm here talking to you about it, because I see videos from non-black people that's just ridicule boxing, and you are nowhere to be. And I'm sure you subscribe to these people too. You're nowhere to be found to criticize these people. Are we the only people that are narrative pushers? Are we the only liars? Are we the only ones so supposedly bad for boxing because we have a difference of opinion?
My turn?
Yeah.
You've been watching my channel long enough to know what you just said is bullshit. You've watched my channel long enough to know that I went in on all kinds of Caucasian, Latino, and non-black boxing channels as much as anything. Maybe not as much as certain groups of channels, because primarily I focus on only a few channels that consistently do the same thing all along. Dante, Ego, you, and a couple other channels, but very few. Most LDBC channels I don't listen to, so I don't even know what their content is. BFP, I've made a few videos about him, but there's no point even listening to him because literally if a video is going to be a 4-hour live, I don't have time to waste my time listening to it. You are perfect. Thank you very much for making videos that only last like 15, 20 minutes because it's easy to listen to and I don't need to waste too much of my time. But this is not specifically a race thing. When the whole Floyd Mayweather-Manny Pacquiao thing went in, there was all kinds of Floyd Mayweather fans that were not black. So many. And you know, 78.
Pause that real quick. My bad. Pause that real quick. Pause. Hold on. Come on.
I'm not really paused, but it was good for natural effect. But let's listen to this while he's off.
Historian, I know a lot of shit. This guy over here, this guy that lives in Taiwan.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Here, with his face on camera, with that mop on top of his head, looking raggedy as hell, trying to sit up here and deny our history, just like the history books, just like the white American history books. This is very offensive. Shawn's people were living in cages, but yet these are the same people that will call black people the monkeys. Ain't that funny? Isn't that funny? Shawn?
Come on, John. When have I called you a monkey? People on your channel consistently use race to criticize me all the time on your videos. You read it. You see it. Never once have I used a racial derogatory comment against you or any of those people. Yet consistently, they use race and these kind of racial stereotypes to criticize me. I don't get offended because I think it's comical. Actually, I let all my coworkers listen to it. I let everybody listen to it because really calling me a pink cave demon or pink cave dweller is kind of funny. It's like Italians. They used to call me munja cake, meaning I'm white, so I eat cake. I don't get offended. I just think it's funny that people's ignorance to use these kind of racial stereotypes to criticize people. I don't do that. I don't use racial stereotypes to criticize black boxing fans.
You kind of do. You kind of do. I mean, cut you off, but you kind of do. You just go away. You kind of, be behind the bush because if I can recall, I do remember you referring to us as being Panther channels. You put up disrespectful thumbnails, right? You call us Panther channels, Wakandians. I mean, I'm not gonna, come on, man. I'm like 38 years old. I'm not. No, you do things to disrespect
Panther channels because you, John, have bought into the whole Black Panther thing and you pushed it on your channel. So basically, that was with that. And as far as Wakandans, that's coming from Coach, who uses it consistently on his channel to talk about a certain kind of black boxing fan who only focus on black narratives. So that's him that uses that. I don't really use Wakandans. I don't know if I've said that on my channel, but he does, and he's black. So you got to address him on that. As far as Black Panthers, that was put more towards you and the fact that you gravitated towards that movie and used that fictitious character as a role model for modern day black Americans, and also with the relationship to the 1960s, 70s group from Los Angeles, who obviously were a strong group during the whole situation back then, one of whom carries my name, Huey Newton. So, I have no problem with Black Panthers, the movie, the comic, or the group from the 70s. But
okay. Like again, you have us under this damn microscope, and if it's all about boxing, if it's strictly about boxing, if you're there because of boxing, then shouldn't you be doing what you're doing to us, to every single body that disrespects the sport? That's all I'm saying. I don't have a problem criticizing a black content creator. I don't just focus on non-black content creators. So,
kind of do. I never saw you criticize an LDBC video ever, but
you never heard me criticize an LDBC member before. Don't you call Dante's Boxing Nation an LDBC member? You never grouped him in. You never grouped Dante and Eagle and the LDBC in the same box. Yes, you have. And I've criticized Dante's Boxer Nation.
Never. I say that they are channels that push racial narratives, but I mean, I never called them LDBC channels. They obviously were well before LDBC. Before I helped create the LDBC.
No, you didn't.
Pushing their narrative. Yes, I did.
No, you didn't. Because nobody was checking for you, Shawn. You came checking for us. That's the difference.
That's not true, John.
Nobody knew you exist before you started talking about it, Shawn.
John, when did the LDBC happen?
The LDBC happened because of the whole disrespect that black fighters were receiving. Okay, and
what was the linchpin that set this off? Because
okay.
the LDBC used to be a debate channel created by none of the people that are part of the LDBC, but by that military dude from Georgia. I can't remember his name. What is his name? Loves Keith Thurman. He was one of the first originators of that. And then, of course, 78 was a part of it. I was invited to join those debates, but I don't really like doing debates too much. So I never ended up going on doing it. But that was the original setup for the LDBC.
Zone 6.
Yeah, Zone 6. And before, what's his face, the crazy guy from fucking Oakland pulled a gun on me and then created this big racial divide on YouTube where both Blood Boxing and 78 then used this as leverage to basically build the new version of what the LDBC is.
So why would he put a gun on you there if you wasn't antagonizing anybody? I mean, that just don't. I mean,
watch his channel.
Tom Biz is an old man. I mean, he ain't gonna pull out a gun just to pull out to threaten people. That John, I don't know him personally, but come on, Tom Biz is a grown man. That's why I said nobody was checking for you, but you were always checking for us. That's the difference.
No, that's
the only reason why we know of you, because you constantly was in our comment section. You were constantly making response videos to us. Nobody knew about you until we saw that there was a ton of response. Look at your videos. All your videos are responding to us.
That's not
most of them. You say we're narrative pushers. I have to block you to keep you out of my comment section, and I don't block people.
Even though I'm the only person that left boxing comments on your channel. Everybody else just these racial fucking narratives on your channel.
I don't block people. It's hard for me to block people. I had to block you because you're always in my comment section.
See, but still you missed the point with Zone 6 who pulled a gun on me. That created the divide because then people that weren't really buying into this saw that, and then they became very offended by it. And me, I just thought he was a clown because he said he was going to shoot me, but I live in Taiwan, so how likely was that going to happen? But nonetheless, he's the clown that he was. But literally, Blood Boxing and 78 used that as a linchpin to create the LDBC.
If you say so.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Again. My point is, like I keep telling you, if you are about boxing, then shouldn't your criticism be towards everybody that disrespects the sport? John, get your toy out of here. Come here. Get this. Hold on, bud. That's why I was trying to debate you on my phone, because the little one's running around here being bad.
You know.
Yes, you are. Stop.
He just wants your attention, John.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna get off here. I'm gonna get off here real quick.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thanks for jumping on. It was a pleasure. Now I'm using this, so feel free. All right, everybody. Johnboxing. Peace out, John. Have a good day. Go play with your kids.
Go get it. All right.